What's up, YouTube? I'm Brett from Rants or Us. As always, guys, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. We're on the road to 1,000. We hope you guys will help us get there. And I also do want to mention that as of right now, content creators here on YouTube are having trouble getting their videos out there to the public thanks to some really crazy YouTube analytics problems. So if you do enjoy our content, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you'll be the first one to see our videos once they're uploaded. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 7 of The Mandalorian. The reason why I didn't do a video the night that it came out is because I've been going back and forth of whether or not this was the strongest episode of the season or the weakest. And I mentioned a few of the reasons why I felt that way throughout this video. But overall, Bill Burr was so strong in this episode that it kind of was like, I was like, some things are vague in this episode that I didn't really enjoy. But then Bill Burr was so great in it as Mayfield, I didn't really know how to rate it. But after a few days of thinking about it, I would actually say this was one of the strongest episodes of the series. Not just this season, but of the series in general. Simply because it had so many moments that were, that really was game-changing moments for individual characters. Was it the big, moments that, we've come to see in this episode, in this season? No, but it's movements in the right direction for this show, and that is what made this episode so great. But overall, I'll go ahead and I'll start talking about the some of the things that I did actually enjoy about this, and then I'll talk about some of the things I hated. I love the AT-AT walkers in the junkyard scene. What a cool way to use those AT-AT walkers. I think we had seen that on the Mon Calamari, on the Mon Calamari world at the beginning of this season, and I completely missed it until when I saw it on this one. I was like, that's the same thing that was on that Mon Calamari planet, and I thought that was really cool. I've done in every one of these videos for the Mandalorian episodes is the background is so amazing to me at how the budget has just grown exponentially, and there's so many cool little details that really keep me intrigued and keep me really focused in on the surroundings, not just the main characters, but of the surroundings behind the main characters, to that really gets me excited about each scene because you never know what you're going to find. Another thing that I actually enjoyed was, like I said, Bill Burr was just, his Mayfield character is so priceless. Like, and I don't say that lightly, because I know there's a lot of characters in the Star Wars universe that are amazing characters, but there are so few, that I would go so far as say are priceless. Mayfield is a priceless character. He is a character that I would watch a spin-off of a million times over. He just has that, that vigor, that cunningness, that hilarious antics in such a calm demeanor that really stands out. And then you add this sense of, well, he's kind of a douchebag, but he's kind of got this heart of gold at the same time. Like it's one of those characters that you want to know more about, and we do learn a little bit more about him in this episode. And I thought that was a great part of this episode. Another thing that I enjoyed about Mayfield in this episode was how he challenged Mando's helmet rules, which is very important. I think it's important not just for this show, but it's important for this show to grow, because until we're able to see Pedro Pascal's face in some of these upcoming episodes, possibly in season 3 too, um, this show's not going to grow. Mando was this faceless babysitter for a season and a half, basically. And now we're starting to see a little bit more of the relationship between Grogu and Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian. But this show is not going to go anywhere. They keep hiding his face. And I'm glad that they're kind of forcing him into this spot of saying, okay, wait a second. I'm feeling kind of stupid here because I found other Mandalorians that they're not doing it. Boba Fett doesn't do it. So why do I do it? You know, it's one of those moments where you go, oh wow, I thought I was living by the rules here, and technically I'm the only one that's following them. So I mean, he feels kind of stupid, I think, at this point, and I think that's a kind of a growing moment for him. But you know, when Mayfield brings up about the helmet, he's like, you know, about, you know, do you do it in these specific moments, or does it matter in this moment, or something along those lines, or if you do it in this way, does this change your rule? Like, the rule, I didn't realize, was very vague. You know, about who he can show it to, can he show his face, how does he take his helmet off? All of these other little things are actually quite vague in this show, and I didn't realize that until Mayfield was joking about it. So that I actually thought was pretty telling in that part. I enjoyed the fight scene between the pirates and Mando. It really showed Pedro Pascal's fighting ability. Of course, I say that. I don't know if he's the one that was actually doing it. But I do know Pedro Pascal, you know, through his days of Game of Thrones. You know, he knows his way around fighting scenes. So it kind of intrigued me that, you know, we finally got to see a little bit of what Pedro Pascal's Mando can do in hand-to-hand combat, instead of just using his weapons all the time. So I enjoyed that part. You know, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that, and I guess probably one thing that really got me to thinking, and it's funny, I've watched 9 movies now and countless series and comics over Star Wars, and I've never really thought about the men behind the mask in the Stormtroopers. You know, of course, we had the in the Clone Wars, you see the clones and you see some of the personalities of the clones. But to me, in the Clone Wars and Rebels, and in a lot of these Star Wars movies, I never really liked the clones. They were always, to me, the weakest part of it. But I know a lot of people out there just loved a lot of the clone episodes of the Clone Wars, but I actually hated those episodes. I'm interested, I'm interested in Star Wars because of the Jedi and the Sith conflict. I'm not really interested, or I wasn't really that interested in learning more about the clones. They just were faceless, and you knew they were going to eventually turn, and so it kind of just made them almost like sheep. You know, they might have personalities, but a few words, and they're going to turn against their masters. So on this episode, it actually allowed us to see a little bit, when Mando and Mayfield get to that Empire base, and they get all that celebration. You see all the guys that are behind the mask. It really was kind of a callback to some of the older the Rebel Alliance moments where the pilots would get out of their plane and they'd be surrounded by all these people, normal people that are struggling, people that are suffering, people that have gone through a lot, people who have lost loved ones, who have lost friends and families, and sometimes even their world um, in the fighting. And so when you see uh, the stormtroopers without their masks on, it almost kind of makes you sad about all of them that have died to a certain extent. I know that might sound weird, but even Mayfield kind of brings that up in this episode. Y'all think y'all are the good guys, but you know, to these, the people on these planets, and to the people that have lost loved ones, whether those loved ones are stormtroopers or other people that are on the other side, they don't look at you as the good guys. It's only you that looks at yourself as a good guy. In fact, all they look at you as is murderers. And, that was kind of a really powerful moment to me. I know it probably passed by a lot of people, and maybe it should, but to me, that was really, really cool getting to see them without their masks on. And I'll tell you, probably, in the Mando showing his face, showed his humanity in a lot of things. I think the taking of the mask off really was a good. You see it with the stormtroopers, and then you see it with Mando taking his helmet off. It shows the humanity in these characters, and that was one of my favorite parts of it. And it was one of my favorite parts when Pedro Pascal's face was actually shown in it. But by far, probably the most tense moments, and these were moments that actually had me on the edge of my seat, was the moments between Mando, Mayfield, and that officer. That officer, every time I see that officer, I always think, that's the dude that killed Bruce Wayne's parents. Like, I know that's like, oh, and I think he played like Rorschach or something. I mean, he's just got a really evil grin to him, like this, like it's a happy that's really disturbing, and him just having that drink with Mayfield, and you could see that Mayfield was really getting tense in it. You knew something bad was going to happen, and when he just pulled that gun out and just shot him point blank, I was like, wow. That was, to me, that was a cool scene. I enjoyed that moment. Like I said, I said even with Mando, taking his helmet off, that's the moment you really see Mayfield's humanity. You see that, okay, he's not the man that we thought he was. He's a man that he fought in a war. He lost a bunch of his comrades, and now he looks back on it and he thinks, all these men died, and for what? Because the Empire told them to. The Empire just led them to a slaughter and didn't care. And that really hurt Mayfield, and rightfully so, So, I mean, I enjoyed that part of it. Probably one of the more memorable scenes I've taken off in those, and Boba Fett dropped those seismic charges. That just looked cool. Like, I love the sound when it just went. But overall, those are all the things that I loved. Now, let's get to a few of the things that I hated. And it's something that I've kind of hated since last episode too. Is why are all these characters so willing to save Grogu? Even you take Mayfield, for instance. I know Mayfield probably isn't. He's not the greatest guy in the world, but why is he risking his life to save this baby that he knows absolutely nothing about? And maybe it's the statement that he made where he says, I do what I can to sleep at night. I do what I have to do, to be able to sleep at night. And maybe that was kind of, one of his moments where, he was trying to say baby, I keep wanting to call him Baby Yoda, Grogu, to help him, because, not doing it, he wouldn't be able to sleep at night. But that's kind of like, I mean, when you got Cara Dune, and then you've got some of, even Boba Fett and all of them, and I'm like, this seems like a lot of people that are just so easily willing to risk their life for someone they don't even know, and it's characters that up to that point we didn't really know were honorable people, and it just really seems odd, and it kind of sticks out to me as not believable, I guess. But that's just me on that one. I also and speaking of those characters, Boba Fett not having any role in this episode was really terrible to me. Okay, you had the Boba Fett reveal of last episode, and then in this episode he didn't play any role. And their way of their reasoning behind that was, oh well, they couldn't show his face because they'd recognize it. Well, that's stupid. And come on, it's freaking Boba Fett, for goodness sakes. Like, let's see him do something in every episode that we get him in. Like, don't have Boba Fett in an episode and then not have him do anything. Like, I feel like those are moments that you want every bit of Boba Fett in those moments, and when you don't get them, it's hard not to kind of feel a little bit like something's been taken from you that you never really had, and it kind of bothers me for some reason. Like, it's something that kind of stuck with me. I kept waiting for him to do something, and I was like, he's just not getting there, and so that part actually kind of bothered me. Another thing of Boba Fett that really disturbed me, and I don't know why. It's probably stupid, but why is his armor so clean? It was so spotless and so clean. It didn't even look like a bounty hunter's armor. Like, in the original trilogy, you see it, and it's got like all those marks and scratches and things. Where, of course, he's been shot at more than a few times. And it kind of makes you go, okay, this is somebody that actually has been through it. Like, that rusty feel kind of meant something, because it's one of those moments where you think, okay, you know what? I get this. This guy, he's hardcore. But seeing him so shiny like that, I'm like, I don't really like that polished feel to it. It's almost kind of like a country song for me. I like the rugged kind of country songs. I don't like the ones that feel... that's just got the typical, I live on a dirt road, I listen to country music, I wear a cowboy hat. I mean, this feels like a list. Well, that's kind of the way that spotless armor kind of felt for me. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel authentic. And so I didn't really enjoy seeing him in that. I hate that they did that to his armor. Another thing is how did Mayfield know about that base, but yet the New Republic didn't? That is something that bothered me in the sequel trilogy, was just how little this New Republic actually knows about anything. Like, they seem like they are just so blissfully unaware of things. If they defeated the Empire, you would think that they would still have knowledge that, hey, there's these secret bases and these things that we don't know, that we need to find out where they are, why they were mining, so that, I don't know, they don't build another flippin' Death Star, like, or something along those lines. I mean, it just, to me, it just feels like that's knowledge that the New Republic should know. And somehow Mayfield, that hasn't been in the Empire for years, he's like, oh yeah, there's a secret base on this planet and they're mining. I mean, it's, for these explosives. So I'm kind of like, that didn't really feel believable to me either, because I'm like, you're telling me that this guy knows him? He probably wasn't even, it sounds like he was just a sniper. But he knows about this base? This top secret base? But the New Republic doesn't? Like, that just seemed dumb. It just seemed really dumb to me. I didn't like that part. Another part was when Mayfield misspoke, and I guess he misspoke, or maybe he was just trying to reference it bad, but it really stuck in my craw a little bit when he was like, well, Alderaan and Mandalore, they're not there anymore. Mandalore's still there. Like, Alderaan, yeah, you can say Alderaan's, just dust in the wind at this point. But Mandalore is still there. And so I thought his references of, well, on Alderaan they believe this, and on Mandalore they believe this, so I thought that reference was completely done away. He was making a very valid point, but when he said, just like Alderaan, Mandalore is not there anymore, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, unless there's something that we don't know, which I hope that they would at least explain if Mandalore was somehow blown up. But I just hated that reference. That is the one Bill Burr reference in this entire episode that I just absolutely despise. I didn't like it. Another thing was, when they were leading that shipment in that I don't know, tanker truck or whatever you could call that thing. I didn't understand why TIE fighters didn't follow behind that important cargo. Like, you seriously allow pirates to come that are on that planet, that live on that planet, to go and steal this important cargo, this cargo that you think will change the war. But yet, this ruthless empire that literally blows up worlds, as I mentioned with Alderaan, somehow doesn't go in there and, I don't know, wipe out the population of that entire planet for, I don't know, stealing their priceless cargo. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't feel like the Empire a little bit. And, they come in the end and they save the day, but I'm kind of like, why were they allowing these pirates just to go and take their cargo like that? Like, it just seems like such a, I don't know, a stupid move on their part. Like it doesn't feel like the strong-willed empire that we knew from the original series, or even, I would say, even the sequel series, which the sequel series was just a bunch of buffoons basically pretending to be the Empire. But it still was they still strong-armed these planets a lot more than what apparently they do in the Mandalorian. So that kind of just bothered me a little bit. I didn't understand how somehow when that officer made that comment, well, we're going to create through these explosives enough havoc that that the people will turn back to the Empire. Now I know this is one thing that is in the Mandalorian a lot, is people have memories like a goldfish apparently. You think that you enslaved all these worlds for nearly 2 decades, and because there's a few problems that they're going to be like, you know what? We're going to go back to this enslavement thing because that actually kind of worked for us. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Like, why would the galaxy ever be like, well, yeah, those are the guys. Those are the guys that really knew what they were doing. Yeah, when they were like, I don't know, massacring worlds and blowing up planets. But, hey, they knew what they were doing. Like, come on. That seemed like a really dumb plan. Like, your plan is like, we're going to just we're just going to go blow up a bunch of stuff and then somehow, I don't know, blame it on the New Republic or something like that. And then they're going to be like, well, we don't like these guys, so we're going to go with these guys that we know blow up planets and enslave entire worlds and galaxies. Like, I mean, that just seems... that statement was... I was like, are they really... This does seem a lot like the sequel trilogy order, where that... it seemed like they don't really know how human beings work exactly. That moment kind of felt that way with me. Another thing that drove me crazy in this was at the very end of the episode, and I was like, what is he doing? Like, you're trying to get all these codes to be able to get on Moff Gideon's ship. So what do you do right after you get those codes? Is you send him a message saying that you're coming for him. What? Why? So he can beef up his guards? Like, why would you send that message then? Like you want him... Wouldn't it be better to think that he thought you weren't coming for him? Where that he would be unprepared? But no. Now he's prepared. Now it's going to make their job that much more difficult. And that was just a really stupid move. Like, I guess you could say maybe, oh, well, that's a badass move, him saying those things like that. That was a dumb move. Like, if so unrealistic. That is the last thing you'd want to do if you're outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. And then instead of catching people off guard, you're like, nope, you know what? I'm going to tell them I'm coming. I'm going to tell them where I'm coming. And I'm even going to probably give them an idea of even maybe the time that I'm coming so that they can be there waiting for me. That's great if you are, I don't know, have 1,000,000 troopers or something, at your behest. But if you're just a few people in just a little ship, probably not a good idea to tell an entire army, galactic army, where you're going to be and who you're coming for. That sounds dumb. Dumb. And there was so many moments in this episode that did have those moments that I was thinking it while I was watching. I was like, that seemed like that's a problem that could be easily fixed, but it wasn't. Like, I mean, even like with the TIE fighters allowing the shipments to be blown up, I was like, that don't really sound like something that would be that big of a problem. That was so stupid to me. I just feel like this show too is really, really now focusing on these member berries. Like, they are really just hunkering down on, hey, you see these AT-ATs in the background, that should remind you of this, and then you see these car shipment things that they're driving around in. That should remind you of something from a previous movie. There was all these little things, and there was these references that they were making to different movies and things like that. And I'm like, okay, we get it. You want us, after watching this, to go, I don't know, Google that and then watch those movies or something like that. Or, hey, you're giving us hints of maybe all these different spinoffs that's, going to be happening. I think there's, 7 new spinoffs that's going to be happening? I mean, it's a crazy amount. It seems absurd. It doesn't seem like a smart strategy to just, shove that much Star Wars into Disney Plus. Even though, I get it, people love Star Wars, but come on. Like, I mean, we had the Clone Wars, and then we had, a couple years later, we had Rebels, but we didn't have Rebels in the, well, I guess maybe you could say maybe we had Rebels and, well, no, still we didn't have Rebels and the Clone Wars at the same time. So I mean, overall, I'm just like, how's that gonna work? Like I feel like this show sometimes doesn't. I just feel like this show sometimes doesn't stand on its own, and I feel like Star Wars sometimes is trying to push, or Disney is trying to push way too much content and way too much information into each episode to give us a reference to something that's not even going to happen on this show, but on a show that's different from this. And I'm like, this show's not dying yet. Like, I mean, this isn't like, it's not like this is the last season of The Mandalorian. So, I mean, why are you referencing all of this and all of that when you could just be, I don't know, focusing on this particular show? And it wouldn't be so bad if they wouldn't do it every episode. But they do it every single episode. And I'm just like, you think people don't notice this? You don't think that it maybe kind of feels a little bit desperate? That's the way it feels to me. It feels like desperation. Like, hey, now that we got your attention, watch these shows and watch these shows. These shows like that you probably don't care about. A lot of them. There's a few that I'm interested in. I'm interested in Ahsoka Tano. But besides that, I mean, the others, I'll probably watch them, but I'm probably not going to be that excited about them. But it just, I don't know. That just is one thing that drives me crazy about The Mandalorian. And it's drove me crazy ever since season 1. But it's really now that they had that meeting and they've delivered all these different shows that's going to be out there, or they've hinted at them. It just seems like that's all the Mandalorian is about sometimes, is introducing us to content that will be in upcoming shows. You could say that with Bo-Katan. You could say it with Ahsoka. You could say it with a lot of these different characters. Even, reaching out to the, the forest with Grogu. Like, that whoever, is going to be showing up is going to be showing up in another one of those spinoffs, if not being the main character of one of those spinoffs, and that just kind of irks me. But overall, guys, like I said, I think this was a strong episode simply because of the information that it gave. I enjoyed the fight scenes to it. There was some dumb moments, but I think overall I could get past the dumb moments. The moments where they were trying to sell other products, and the moments where they were kind of, I don't know, making it clear that what they've talked about, like with the helmet rule, was a vague rule. I felt like even kind of referencing that and making fun of that was something that I hadn't thought about, and I know many other fans hadn't thought about as well. So bringing it up is just going to be something that's going to drive us crazy from this point on. So that was like, to me, it was funny. But it's going to be something that's going to bother me and a lot of other fans out there. Yeah, that rule is kind of dumb. Don't even make sense. Like, you're not even putting it into context of, this is what you do in this specific moment, this is what you don't do in this specific moment. So overall, that was, I don't know if it was a brilliant move or a stupid move. It feels stupid. I know I've said that a lot during this review, but that's just how I feel. Like, there was some really head scratching moments, but overall it gave us enough entertainment that I feel like I can overlook a lot of it. But anyways, guys, let me know what y'all think of it, and as always, guys, thank y'all for watching.